Hello everybody, very good afternoon. Hope you all are doing really well. I am CA Agrawal, your faculty for ACCA, AA and AAA subjects. My friends, it is very important for us to understand that by now we should be over a result of September 2025 attempt, and it is our time to prepare for December 2025 attempt in full swing, because there are very few days left and we have to plan accordingly to understand whether we are at the right preparation strategy or. When I talk about preparing for audit and assurance as a subject, it is very detail oriented subject, yet we need to summarize it to prepare well for it. So what we are going to do is, we are going to start a series of revisions as well as question practice sessions so that you can prepare well for your December 2025 attempt. Okay, so now today we are going to discuss about the overall strategy that we need to follow for AA December 2025 attempt. We are going to revise one very important chapter, which is audit documentation, and we are going to solve certain questions of that particular chapter as well. Okay, I hope I am audible and visible clearly. Yes. Okay, perfect. Now my friends, before we move further, we should first of all understand that there could be different categories of students. Okay, when I talk about those category of students who have appeared for AA in September 2025 attempt, and it was their last paper of skill level, now they need to decide which professional paper they should go for, okay. For this we will be creating a separate video. Second category of students is who have appeared for September 2025 AA exam but did not clear it. So they might be requiring the revisions as well as question practice sessions, right? So please stay with me in this video, and we will be discussing about how we will be revising and what would be the question practice session that we will be following and conducting. Okay, then there could be certain category of students who have appeared for other skill level papers, and they want to appearing for AA in December 2025. Okay, so my friends, I would like to tell you about how to prepare for all of these kind of students. Okay, so first of all, for the first category of students who have completed their skill level and they are going to come to the professional level now, first of all I welcome you all to the professional level, and how we are going to handle it. So we are going to create a separate video on what should be your sequence and what should be your optional papers when you go to the professional level. Okay, then when I talk about the second category of students, which is AA September 2025 students who have appeared but did not clear it. So what you need is, you do not need the complete classes, you just need the revisions part, and you just need the practice sessions, that is the question solving sessions. My friends, please understand that question solving is one of the core reasons why a lot of students do not clear, because we need good question practice. Even if all of your concepts are clear, we need good practice over the questions to clear the AA examination. Okay, now when I talk about other skill level papers, that is they have appeared for some other level skill level paper, say FR, law, any paper, and now they want to appear for AA as a fresh thing. So they should definitely enroll for the regular batch only, so that they can get good grasp over all the concepts, and then they can solve the questions also. Okay, so when I talk about our batches at BB Virtuals Global, you can check it out on our website, which is www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. So when I talk about our courses, we offer courses for both these category of students who just want to enroll for the question practice sessions along with certain revision sessions of all the important concepts, and those who want to appear for the regular batches. Okay, the regular detail oriented chapter wise concept lectures as well as question practice sessions. But my friends, what is more important for us to understand is that we have very less time. Okay, now today we are standing on 14th October 2025, and we have to appear in December 2025, that too almost first week, right? So we have roughly 1.5 months, that is 1.5 months time is left, 1.5 months are left. Now when I say 1.5 months are left, how do we need to prepare for it? So my friends, whatever planning I would be sharing with you, we will be completing it by November 20th 2025, okay, along with everything, every question, every revision, every lecture, every concept, everything, okay, November 20th. But before this also we will be conducting mock tests. So there will be total 6 mock tests in our regular batches, and there would be 4 mock tests in our exam oriented or crash course batch, okay. Now when I talk about whether notes would be provided to you, so yes, notes would be provided to you. And when I talk about the question bank, so whether question banks would be provided to you, yes. What kind of questions are we going to solve? So we are going to solve 2 types of questions, okay. Number 1 are MCQ based questions, where we will be solving almost 20 plus questions. And if I talk about the concept lectures, or if I talk about the descriptive type questions, then we are going to solve almost 30 plus questions. So in total 50 plus questions we are going to solve, and these questions are going to be from all chapters and majorly from the important chapters as well. Plus, are we going to cover the concept? So yes, we are going to revise all core concepts. Okay, this is very, very important. So for more updates, please subscribe to this channel so that we can discuss more about it. Now, what is our plan for today? So more on this later on, but what is our plan for today? So our plan for today is very, very simple. We want to discuss about chapter number 6, which is audit documentation. We will quickly revise it, okay. We are not understanding it in full, we are quickly revising it, all the core concepts. But what is going to be a strategy? So please understand that we are revising it in a very quick manner. Quick revision is there, okay. If you want the detailed revision, please let me know, I will be posting it. But for now, we will be doing it in a very quick revision. I am assuming that you know a lot of concepts. Whatever are the core concepts, I will be taking the examples for it, but other than that, I will not be taking the examples at least, okay. Now, will we solve the questions also? Yes. Will we solve questions based on MCQs and descriptive type? Yes, one question of both. What would be the source of these questions? So these questions will be taken from Study Hub, okay. That is very, very important for all of us to understand. So I hope this is clear to you, and now we can move forward, okay. I hope this is clear to you. Now we can move forward, okay. We will be discussing about everything again at the end of the lecture, okay. But for now, let's focus on chapter number 6, which is audit documentation. Now my friends, before going for the detailed discussion of this topic, I would like to tell you that why this documentation requirement is there and what kind of documentation are covered in this particular chapter, okay. So my friends, whenever we talk about any of the audit firm, so you know the firm from which I did my articleship, there was a saying that was there in that firm, which is, the work that is not documented is not done. That is, even if I have done everything, okay, even if I have done all the audit procedures and taken all the audit evidences and framed all the audit conclusions, yet if I have not documented it, then they used to say that this work would not be considered as done, because you need proper documentation for all the work that has been done in a scenario of audit. Now, earlier I used to think that it is literally a time waste, but then came one day where I was placed on a client which is a second year audit. Now, when I went to the client about asking the basic questions, they told me that I have already explained it to your earlier team, which was there in first year, okay. I was asking very basic questions like what are the products and services, what is the nature of the industry and everything, okay. And I was not reconfirming it, I was actually asking from a point blank scenario, okay. So I was placed in a second year audit, okay. That particular client told me that we have already explained it to your team earlier in the first year of audit, okay. Now I went to my manager and asked that how could I gain these documents. So he told me that we have a software where all these documents are kept safely. What you can do is you can bring it out and you can read all those documents so that you can frame a basic understanding, okay. Then I realized that what is the importance of audit documentation, because audit documentation is not just a procedure, it's not just a formality. It also helps you to understand. That what are the procedures that have been performed, what are the audit procedures have been performed, okay, what are the evidences obtained, and what are the conclusions reached. What are the conclusions reached? Okay, so this is what is audit documentation helps you with. Okay, now I'll tell you more. Then that client was subject to EQR. Okay, that client was subject to EQR, engagement quality review. I hope you must be aware about it as of now, right? So that client was subject to EQR. Now when I went for the EQR, or when our team went for the EQR, this documentation really helped us in explaining a lot of items. So it also helps you in EQR and external reviews. What if there is an investigation tomorrow? It will help you, because this will help you to identify what are the procedures that have been performed. If there is any dispute that is going on, whether a particular procedure has been conducted or not, then what you can do is you can simply show them this document that we have performed this procedure, this was the procedure, this was the evidence, and this was the conclusion reached. Right now, what is important is, do we need to mention everything or just important items? Do we need to document? Do we need to document everything? Do we need to document everything, or just important items? Do we need to document everything or just important items? So what is more important here? What should be the extent of it? That is the question regarding the extent of the audit documentation. So there's a very beautiful line that has been stated over here, that is, it should be sufficient for it. It should be sufficient. What should be the extent of audit documentation? It should be sufficient for an experienced auditor. It should be sufficient for an experienced auditor, not any random person, not any new auditor, but for an experienced auditor with no connection to audit. That is, they should not have any of the audit experience of this particular client. Okay, no connection to the audit engagement. To understand, again, those 3 points: procedures performed, evidences obtained, and conclusions reached. If your audit documentation is able to portray this to an experienced auditor, that what are the procedures that you have performed, what are the evidences that you have obtained, and what are the conclusions that you have reached, then your documentation is appropriate, right? So that is one important thing that we need to understand. Now let's go to the technical text, because now we have understood what are what is audit documentation and what is the extent of audit documentation that is required. Now there were objectives that we took from detailed study guide that is available. Okay, so we completed those objectives also from detailed study guide, just to corroborate that whatever we have understood has completed all the parameters of it. Now when I talk about definitions and scope, so the record of audit procedures performed, relevant audit evidences obtained, and the auditor's conclusion. Did we discuss about it just now? Yes, right? Also called as working papers. You might have heard, if you have any of the audit industry exposure, you might have heard of the term working papers. Then scope includes audit programs, analysis, briefing documents, summaries, confirmation letters, written representations, and other correspondence. I hope you might be aware about these terms, but please tell me if you are aware about this confirmation letter. Yes, this is driven from ISA 500 series, right? Written representations, again ISA 500 series, so that is very important. Other correspondence as in related documents. Important thing is, do you need to remember this? Yes, my friends, you need to remember this word to word. Do you need to remember this word to word? Not word to word, but you need to have a good idea. Not word to word, but you need to have a good idea. Okay, now when I talk about the purpose, so primary purpose, although there are other purposes also, but the primary purpose of audit documentation is to provide evidence of the basis of conclusions for auditor's conclusion. That is, what is the basis of concluding a particular item? For example, if auditor has concluded, that PPE are materially misstated. I hope you understand this term, materially misstated. PPE are materially misstated. Then what is the basis? What is the basis of this conclusion? Okay, so this will help you there. Then that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with ISAs and legal and regulatory requirements. This is one of the overall objectives under ISA 200 also, right? Conduct of an audit in accordance with the international standards on auditing. So this helps us provide evidence for the item that we have followed, ISA 200. Then additional purposes. Now these additional purposes, do you need to remember word by word? Here, do you need to remember this word by word? Please remember. Okay, please remember. But when I talk about this, do you need to remember word by word? No, not word by word. My friends, what happens is we generally understand all of these things in very much detail. Okay, we generally understand all of these things in very much detail in our regular classes, but during the revision you need to be very very clear on what you need to understand, what you need to remember for the examination, and how do you need to apply it. Okay, because in our orientation session also and in our lecture number 1 also, we have explained in detail that whenever we talk about the AA paper, there are certain levels that are tested. There are certain intellectual levels. So level 1 and level 2 is tested, which is knowledge and application, that is tested. Okay, so additional purposes, do you need to remember word by word? No. But do you need good understanding? Yes. Increasing the economy, efficiency and effectiveness of the audit, because it will reduce the duplication of work. Assist in planning and performing the audit. Of course, for example, in my second year of audit, I had the documentation of the first year, so it helped me in planning and performing the audit. Facilitates direction, supervision, review. So if my manager wants to review the work that I have done, they'll have the audit documentation, the working papers available with them, so that they can perform their direction and supervision and review. Helps in retaining records for future. Like I told you that my manager secured the records for the next year audit also, which helped me in planning as well as performing the audit. Creates accountability among team, because it would be made aware that who has actually performed the work, who has actually reviewed it, so there would not be any accountability issues. And facilitates quality and external reviews. When I say facilitates quality and external reviews, it means that even if there is any external review tomorrow that happens, maybe from the regulatory authorities or anybody else, then we will have the documentation of what evidences we have collected, what procedures we have performed, and what we have concluded. Now, documentation prepared after the audit work. This is important to understand, not remember, but important to understand. Documentation prepared after the audit work has been performed is likely to be less accurate than documentation prepared at the time such work is performed. Is it first of all allowed? Is it first of all allowed to prepare the audit work after the audit work has been performed? So is it even allowed? Yes, it is allowed, but that would be less reliable, because it is not helping you frame the appropriate conclusion, because audit work has already been done. My friends, why I am speaking in so fast pace? Because what happens is, whenever we revise, we should focus on all the core concepts, and we should run every concept. We should not let go of any concept. So whenever we will revise, we will not let go of any of the core concepts. Okay, so don't worry about it, but we will maintain our pace. In what sense we need to understand it? Just in case if you still have doubts, please feel free to comment down. I would be happy to discuss all your doubts and resolve it. Just in case if you want to communicate any doubts or discussions with me, please feel free to come to my Telegram channel, which is which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. I am mentioning all the links in the description below, so that you can quickly discuss with me about anything that is troubling you for AA. Okay, so don't worry about it. Similarly for AAA also, we can come to me, not an issue. Excellent. Audit documentation, we have discussed, should be what? Sufficient to enable an experienced auditor having no previous connection to the audit to understand the nature, time and extent of audit procedures, the evidence obtained and results of these procedures, and significant matters arising, significant professional judgments made, and conclusions reached. So this is what, in short, this is what? Procedures performed. This is what? The evidences collected. This is what? The evidences collected. And this is what is the conclusions reached. This is what is the conclusions reached. Okay, I hope I am audible and visible still. Just in case if you face any trouble, please feel free to let me know. Okay, great. Okay, now okay, now there's a question. Sir, I have done risk and internal control, and there are few questions, and 1 and 2 units. Shall I book the exam now or wait for 5-7 days complete more, then go for it? I would strongly suggest you to please complete more. Okay, because if I talk about risk and internal controls, this is important part but a small part of the syllabus. What you should do is, you should focus more on the audit documentation part, audit procedures part. Okay, and then you should complete the completion and review stage also, and then you should book for the examination. But see, please understand one thing. If you have completed the syllabus, that is the concept lectures and everything you have completed, and you have solved questions from 3 stages, which is the planning stage, ISA 300 series, evidences stage ISA 500 series and reporting stage ISA 700 series, okay, then you can definitely go, okay, not an issue, then you can definitely go ahead and book the examination. You can revise and solve more questions later on. But if you have not framed a proper understanding, or if you have just completed one portion, that is say ISA 300 only, then you should not book the examination now. You should complete more ISA 500 as well as ISA 700 series, and then you can book the examination. I hope that is clear. I hope that is clear. I hope that is clear. Yes. Okay. Now factors to consider. So nature, size and complexity of the entity. The bigger the size of the organization, the more would be the audit documentation required. Identified risk of material misstatement. Higher the risk of material misstatement, higher would be the nature of audit documentation, or the amount of audit documentation. Then reliance placed on control effectiveness. If the controls are considered as reliance, if the controls are concluded as reliant, that is the auditor could rely on control effectiveness, then we can say that the audit documentation could be a little less, otherwise it would be more. Extent of judgment required. If more and more professional judgment is required, then the audit documentation would also be required more. And audit methodology and tools used. If the audit methodology is standardized, then audit documentation would be less. If the audit methodology that is used is customary in nature, that is you have customized it, then there would be more audit documentation that would be required. Significance of evidence obtained. When I say significance of evidence obtained, if it is more reliable, if it is less reliable. If it is more reliable, then we will have less audit documentation. If it is less reliable, we will have to make more audit documentation. For example, for external confirmation, you can directly refer it and then keep it in your audit file, but for others you need stronger references also. Okay, then extent of direction, supervision and review. Extent of direction, supervision and review, that is if certain documentation or if certain item of financial statement is subject to multiple reviews, then there would definitely be less documentation that could work for it, because everybody is aware, otherwise there would be more documentation required. Now standardization. So there are certain standardization that is there for the audit working papers. So generally it is tailored for every client, but what happens is there are generally some certain standardized items that are there. For example, every document to have the name of the client, the financial year, the nature of the engagement for which it is done, prepared by, reviewed by, dates. Okay, so standard documents can be used for audit completion disclosure, checklist, questionnaires, specimen letters. When I say questionnaires, it means inquiry questionnaires. It could be related to internal controls. Okay, when I say checklist, it could be IFRS checklist, ISA's checklist. Specimen letters, example, confirmation letters. So they could have the standardized format. Okay, now whenever standard documents are used, it must be tailored for each client and keep up to date for changes in ISS, IFRS and laws and regulations. That is, even if you are using the standardized version, what you should keep in mind is that whenever you talk about any of the formats, it should be updated as per the updated norms of ISS, IFRS and other norms. Then documentation technique. So it is narrative, it could be narrative. When I say narrative, detail oriented, it is generally used to record the process. Graphics, generally flowcharts. It is also used to generate the process or record the process, but in steps, in drawings format. Questionnaires, it is generally used for the purpose of inquiry, particularly for internal control questionnaire or understanding the business. Checklist, it is generally used to see whether everything has been covered or not. Checklist is very, very important. Electronic media, it is generally in the electronic format. For example, digital copy of the confirmation letters. My friends, do you need to remember this? Do you need to remember this? Do you need to remember? Do you need to remember this? Yes. Do you need to remember this? Yes, you need to remember this. Okay, now use of IT. When I say use of IT, so electronic working papers could also be prepared. Electronic working papers in the form of spreadsheets. For example, I used to prepare a lot of Excel sheets while auditing the entity to evaluate and document everything that I have verified. Electronic working papers and core functionalities to be able to upload, organize, review and approve the work into the system or program with electronic signatures and data stamps and backed up. That is, the core functionality of these electronic working papers is what? That they can be stored, they can be uploaded, they can be approved, they can be stored in a system in a retrievable format, and they could be sealed and signed in the electronic format only, along with the data stamps. So I prepared one file on say 1st of July, okay, and if I have edited it on 1st of August again, then this particular software would catch that it was modified by me on 1st of August. What if my manager modifies it? It will catch that also. So that is also very, very important to understand. Okay. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, permanent versus current audit files. There are certain things which are permanent in nature. There are certain things which are current in nature. That is, it is to be kept for the current year also. There are certain things that need to be kept for the permanent, as a permanent file, right? So, these permanent files are those documents generally which are used for multiple years, like engagement letters, like legal documents, like understanding of client's business, like previous year signed FS, because it would be used for multiple years. But there are certain documents which has the current year's relevance only, which is say checklist. This year we have followed this year we have complied with all the requirements. Questionnaires, particularly for the year. Written representations, again it is for a particular period. Board minutes copy, again it is passed in that audit particular period or that particular audit period, and that is why it is considered as current audit file. Okay, there will be only one PF and CF. PF as in permanent audit file, CF as in current audit file for each stage of the audit, that is interim and year end. That is, for every stage of the audit there should be one permanent file and one current file. Then audit section structure. When I say audit section structure, what do I mean by it? It is a standard procedure to record following on every individual working paper, like we discussed: client name, reporting period, subject of working paper, subject of working paper as in property, plant and equipment, other expenses, rent, what is that, date of preparation, preparer's identification, that is name, date of review, then reviewer's identification, that is this person has reviewed it. Now may also include lead scheduling, that is it is the replica of the financial statement. For example, PP&E. PP&E would look something like this. PP&E would look something like this: non-current assets, PP&E, current year balance, last year's balance, and there would be a note number, say 4. Okay, then audit objectives, significant matters and conclusion, basis of accounting and accounting policy used, say LIFO, FIFO or what. Okay, assertion wise audit procedures performed. You remember that assertion, completeness, we will revise it, don't worry. Completeness, then there was rights and obligations, cutoff, accuracy, presentation and disclosures, measurement and valuation, all of that. Okay, so what procedures you have performed for addressing all assertions. Then sampling approach, what approach you have taken for the sampling purpose, what is the work done. Work done as in we have verified the bank confirmation letters and matched it with the bank statement and evaluated that both these balances are matching. Okay, so that could be written in work done. Supporting disclosures, example notes to FS, for example reconciliation prepared for property, plant and equipment, that is important here. Then significant matters. When I say significant matters, what do I mean by it? All significant matters must be recorded. All significant matters must be recorded, including details of discussions with appropriate client personnel, and written representations must be obtained wherever required. Recorded, including details of discussion with appropriate client personnel, and written representation must be obtained wherever required. Is this important? Yes. So all significant matters, for example, any discussion which could have impact over the going concern. Okay, so will that be recorded and kept as a significant matter? Yes. Any necessary departure from applying ISS must be recorded. See, first of all, if you depart from ISS, it is not at all written that you have complied with all the requirements of ISS, but in exceptional circumstances you are allowed to depart from the requirements of ISS. But in that particular case, what you need to see is whatever are the reasons, whether they are particularly recorded or not. So including the reason for departure and how the audit objective was achieved under the circumstances. That is, if you have not followed the ISS, how did you achieve the audit objectives? I hope this is clear. Now, usually a separate summary document is prepared to record significant matters and how they were resolved. So in my firm, there used to be summary of review memorandum. This was the document that used to be prepared to identify all the significant matters and how they were dealt with by the senior level management of the firm. Then assembly of working papers files. Okay, so all documents, this is important because how to assemble and how to archive this. Okay, so all documents that supports the audit opinion must be reviewed and signed off before the auditor signs the auditor's report. That is, every document, everything should be performed, reviewed and documented before the auditor signs the audit report. Okay, then any issues of an administrative nature could be done within 60 days. Within 60 days of what? The date of auditor's report. Within 60 days. This is generally called as the archival period, within which you have to close everything. So it could happen that you have verified all the documents, but you just need to put it in an Excel file in summary and then upload it. This is administrative task, right? Now this is administrative task, but it still needs to be completed within 60 days. So if your audit has been completed on, say, 31st March for December year end, then you should close it by April, May. So generally 30th May should be the last date. Okay, why not 31st? 60 days, no? Then after the final assembly, the auditor should not delete any documentation until the completion of the retention period. Retention period is generally different in all the cases. So it is for pi different, it is different for pi, it is different for non-pi, generally 5 years, okay, 5 to 7 years. So until the completion of the retention period, they should not delete anything. Can they add? No. Okay. Can they add? Generally no. Can they add? So generally no. Generally no. Addition is also not allowed. If any modification is done after final assembly, then the reason of modification, the person who has done, when it has been done, everything should be documented as well as reviewed also. Okay. Then confidentiality and safe custody. Now this is important, confidentiality and safe custody. First of all, this is one of the most famous questions that is asked in AA, that who has the custody, who has the ownership of the audit documentation. So the auditors are the sole owners of the audit documentation. They can avail or they can make available certain part of the audit documentation to the client based on their discretion. It is not at all required from their side. Okay. So it is the auditor's responsibility to maintain confidentiality and safe custody of the audit documentation. So tomorrow if any audit documentation is leaked in public which was in custody of auditor, who would be considered as responsible? The auditor would be considered as responsible. Procedures includes passwords, secured backup and encryption of data, and confidential storage of hard copy documentation. In my firm, there used to be a cupboard where we used to keep all these permanent audit files which were present in the physical format, and the keys used to be available only with the partner. Nobody else could access those things. Okay. ISA 230 specifies that the retention period for audit engagement is at least 5 years from the date of the auditor's report. We discussed, no, 5 years. Generally it is 5 years. Okay. But ACCA recommended. ACCA recommended. Okay. This is what? This is ISA 230. ISA 230. This is ACCA recommended. Okay. So for audit working papers, 5 years, 7 years. For text files, 7 years. That is why I said 5 to 7 years, because 5 years is given by ISA, whereas ACCA recommended it is 7 years. Which one you should follow? 7 years. I would say 7 years. Okay. If you have to select one, then you should select 7. If you have to write in description, then you should write both 5 years as well as 7 years. I hope this is clear. Now certain other pointers, and with that we will be completing the revision of audit documentation. Okay, so other points. Working papers are the auditor's property and clients have no right to demand access. Did we discuss it already? Yes. Extracts from working papers may be made available to the client at the auditor's discretion. Did we discuss it? Yes. A client may require the auditor to disclose documents which belong to the client only to a third party. May require. For example, bank wants to see the financial statement reconciliation. Okay, so a client may require the auditor to disclose documents which belong to the client only. This is something that confuses a lot of students. Not audit working papers. We are not talking about audit working papers here. We are talking about certain documents that are kept in the custody of auditor but belongs to the client only to a third party. So the client may require it. Okay. With this we have completed the revision part of it. Okay. I hope this is clear. Now let's again quickly understand what we were trying to discuss earlier, so that you have a good understanding over everything. Just in case if you face any trouble, please feel free to contact me. Okay. So let's discuss about certain important pointers over here. First of all, can we let me answer most frequently asked questions, okay, that I have received since yesterday. Can we prepare for AA in the remaining time? Yes, big yes. Okay, not an issue. Yes. Okay. Can we prepare for AA? Yes. Can we only prepare concepts and go? Can we only prepare concepts and appear for exams? Can we only prepare concepts and appear for exams? No. Big no. Okay. Do we necessarily need to practice? Questions? 100%. Okay, if you want to pass, you have to practice the questions. Okay. Can we start afresh? Yes. So my friends, now I would tell you that how you should prepare for AA. Okay, so how you should prepare for AA as a subject. See my friends, if you have not studied have not studied double A at all, then what you should do? You should go for regular batch. Okay, you should go for regular batch where we will be completing all the concepts, not just core concepts, all the concepts in detail, along with question practice and mock tests. Okay, then when I talk about appeared but didn't clear, then you should go for a crash course batch. When I say crash course batch, what do I mean by it? When I say crash course batch, what do I mean by it? Here we will be completing all the core concepts and questions. How many? 20 plus MCQs and 30 plus case studies. But what is more important here is that we will be completing all of this in live mode. Sir, what would be the timings? So timings would be TTSS 2 p.m. TTSS, let me write it more clearly, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. When I say 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., what do I mean by it? 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. TTSS, as in Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. This timing is as per Indian Standard Timing. Now let's talk about the third category of student. Okay, third category of students completed classes already, because a lot of students starts after appearing for September 10th, so completed classes already, but not getting confidence. So for this, what you should do? Again, crash course batch from my end. Why? Crash course batch from my end. Why? Revise core concepts and question solving. Okay, this is important. Now my friends, please try to understand one thing. If you have any questions, how you can connect with me? Okay, first of all, you can connect with me on Telegram or YouTube by the same username, which is ACCA with CA Suprita Krupal. Okay, can you connect with me on Insta also? Yes, with the same username. Okay, not an issue. If you want to go to our website, then what is our website? Website is www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. Okay, now this is very important for all of us to understand. Plus please understand this one thing, that we are always available for you. I have mentioned all the numbers, email IDs, everything in the description box. You can quickly go check it out. Okay, and whatever questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, now today what we are going to do more? What more we are going to do for today? So today we are going to take a 2 minutes break, a short break, and then we are going to go for the question solving also. Okay, so we are going to solve certain questions from chapter number 6. These questions are going to be from ACCA Study Hub. Okay, thank you. Okay, my friends, I hope it's done. So now let's come to the question solving of this particular chapter. Okay, when I say question solving, what are we going to cover? So we are going to cover three types of questions. Okay, number one, and we are going to cover it for all chapters. Okay, so we are going to cover number one for basic questions. When I say basic questions, these are concept builder questions. These are concept builder questions. What is the importance of this, sir? See, once you have revised everything, you need a good grasp over what concepts you have covered and whether you are able to understand everything appropriately or not. So for that we have placed roughly 15 to 20 and in some cases 25 to 30 questions for your basic understanding. Okay, this is something that we have particularly created and it is only available with us. Okay, second is we will be solving the MCQ case scenarios. MCQ case scenarios, these are taken from the ACCA study majorly plus the publishers also. MCQ case scenarios. Then third one is the descriptive or constructed response questions. Constructed response questions. Okay, so are we going to solve all of them? Yes, we are going to solve all of them for all chapters. Yes. Okay, but the core concepts we will be revising for the important chapters, but we will be solving these questions for all chapters. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now let's try to solve certain MCQs. So these MCQs are not particularly for this particular lecture, the lecture that I am talking for today. For this particular lecture, we have compiled all chapter MCQs. Okay, so I think there are how many? 22 questions. Okay, so we have completed a lot of portion of your syllabus, the AA syllabus, in these 22 questions. Why so? So that we can have a brief understanding. Since this is lecture number 1, we can have a brief understanding about what is the level of knowledge, whether we are able to apply it or not, and then we can plan the sessions accordingly. Okay, so the overall objectives of the auditor is to detect all fraud. No, why not? Why is it not the right option? Because it says all, right? Obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement could be true, but let's read the other options. Guarantee the accuracy of financial statements. No, because guarantee what is there? Ensure profits are maximized. Ensure what is there? That is why option B is the right option. That should be your approach while solving any of the MCQs. Although generally case study MCQs are asked, but if you solve any of the questions, you should read all 4 requirements first. All 4 requirements should be read, should be analyzed, should be evaluated, and then you should take the right option. But the speed would definitely be increased. Why I am solving it in a little slow manner? Because see, my friends, what happens is we have to understand each and every keyword. Okay, I'm teaching you here, I'm not solving for myself. So that is why I'll go a little slow while solving the questions. You need to keep your own pace, whatever you are comfortable with. Whenever it comes to revision, I'll keep my pace a little fast so that I can help all of you to revise in a very concise time, but you can make it a little slow also for your understanding. Okay, so that is the understanding between question solving as well as concept building. Now, which ISA sets out the overall objectives? Which ISA sets out the overall objectives of independent auditor and conduct of an audit? So this we can directly tick because this is ISA 200 and we all are aware about it. So that is why we can directly tick. There could not be any other option in any case, right? Now, professional skepticism requires the auditor to. Professional skepticism requires the auditor to. Professional skepticism, do you remember? 3 things are there. Aware, or let's write it in sequence only. Questioning mind, having a questioning mind, being alert towards situations that might pose a possible misstatements, and critical evaluation of evidences. Critical evaluation of evidences. I hope all of these things are clear. Critical evaluation of evidences, right? So assume all management is dishonest. No, not assume anything. Maintain a questioning mind and be alert to conditions that might pose possible misstatement could be right option, but let's read the other one. Trust management fully. No, we cannot trust. Ignore contradictory evidences. No, that is not there. That is why option B is the right option. Now, which of the following statements about audit risk is true? Which of the following statement about audit risk is true? About audit risk. Okay, so what is audit risk? Risk that auditor issues inappropriate opinion. Issues inappropriate opinion when financial statements are materially misstated. When FS are materially misstated. I hope you remember it. Those who are from my classes, they will be remembering an example of a good person entering your life and a bad person entering your life. right? So audit risk can be reduced to zero. No, it cannot be reduced to zero. Audit risk is a function of detection risk, inherent risk, and control risk. Yes, IR into CR into DR. But let's read the other options also before concluding finally. Audit risk is always the same for all audits. No, not same. Audit risk is only about fraud. No, not only about fraud. Fraud is one part of it, but not definitely not only about fraud, right? That is important. My friends, will you get these question banks, the soft copies? Yes, you will get the soft copies of the question banks. Will you get the soft copies of this board notes also, whatever comments I am writing? Yes, you will get it also. So don't worry about it, okay? Now, professional judgment is important because auditors must make decisions in areas requiring interpretation and discretion. Could be true. Auditors can rely entirely on checklist. No, not entirely. That is why wrong. It ensures audit risk is zero. No, not zero, not ensures. And it replaces the need for skepticism, not replaces. That is why option A is the right option. The auditor's reports provide absolute assurance about financial statement. No, not absolute. A guarantee of future viability. No. An independent opinion to enhance users' confidence. Could be true. But fourth option is certification of profitability. Definitely not. That is why option C is the right option. Then the risk that the auditor expresses an inappropriate audit opinion when the financial statements are materially misstated is, we just discussed audit risk is there, right? I hope you understand the definition of these three, right? That is covered. Now, the auditor complies with ethical requirements primarily to avoid detection of fraud. No, not avoid. Okay, support the credibility of the audit opinion. Could be true, but let's read the other option. Minimize audit documentation. No, not minimize. Reduce audit fees. No, that is why support the credibility of the audit opinion. Then which of the following best explains why absolute assurance is not obtainable? Which of the following best explains why absolute assurance is not obtainable? Use of judgment, sampling, and inherent limitations of control. Yes. Of internal control. Yes. Order incompetence. No. Lack of time. No. Small size of entity. No. That is why use of judgment. Then in exercising professional judgment, auditor must ignore professional standards. No. Apply knowledge, training, and experience to decision. Yes. KSE, right? Then only rely on management's view. No, not only. Avoid documenting rationale. No, not avoid. That is why option B is the right option. Now, which of the following is not part of the auditor's objective as per ISA 200? Not part. Please do not miss this point, okay? A lot of students make this point, and that is why I always tell you to read all the four options. Just in case if you have missed out on reading certain important keywords of the question, you will at least figure odd one out from the answer and you will be able to take it. So, obtain reasonable assurance about financial statements. Obtain reasonable assurance about financial statements could be, this is one. Report on financial statement. This is one. Detect and prevent all fraud. No, this is not one. Comply with ISIS, yes. So that is why option C is the right option. Now, which of the following is an inherent limitations of an audit? Inherent limitations of an audit. Persuasive nature of audit evidence is yes. Timeliness and cost constraints, yes. Management overhead of controls, yes. Option D is there. My friends, these are all basic concepts, not just related to audit documentation, but from the overall audit AA that we are studying, right? So please understand this one thing, that if you are facing trouble in solving any of it, please feel free to contact us. We will be able to guide you on how to develop these concepts and solve the questions. Okay. Now, audit risk is best described as audit risk. We have just discussed about it. The possibility that the auditor may unknowingly fail to appropriately modify the opinion. No. The risk that the client becomes unprofitable. No. The risk that internal controls fail. No. Risk that the auditor resigns. No. So the possibility that the auditor may unknowingly fail to appropriately modify the opinion on financial statement that are materially misstated, because auditor issues inappropriate opinion, so auditor may unknowingly fail, right? That is important. That is just a shift of words, and that is why I say this question might be important, because it will just change the wordings. Detection risk relates to auditor's risk, right? Detection risk, auditor might miss. So risk that auditor procedures will not detect a misstatement could be true, but let's read the other options. Risk that controls will fail, that is control risk. Risk of material misstatement due to complexity, that is not this risk, that is business. Risk of auditor being sued, that is also different. So that is why this is detection risk. Now control risk is the risk that controls might fail to detect material misstatements, right? So misstatement will not be prevented or detected by entities internal control, could be true. Let's read the other options. Auditor will not detect misstatements, no. Misstatements arise due to complex transactions, no. Auditor applies wrong audit opinion, no. That is why option A is the right option. Then inherent risk is the risk. that inherent risk, we are talking about inherent risk. So inherent risk is the risk that a misstatement could occur due to nature of the business or transactions before considering any internal controls. Yes, but let's read the other option. You might have also discussed the definition of susceptibility of an account assertion to misstatement. That is also true, and that is also is given by standard. Now, internal auditors will fail? No. Auditor fails to detect errors? No. Audit evidence is unreliable? No. That is why a misstatement could occur due to the nature of the business or transaction before considering any controls. Then, the concept of materiality is important because the concept of materiality is important because auditors only need to focus on information that could influence decisions. Could be true. Auditors must check every single transaction, not every single. Materiality is only set for fraud. No, that is not true. It replaces audit evidence. No, not replaces. That is why option A is there. That is, auditor needs to focus on material items which has the capability of impacting the economic economic decisions of users of financial statements. Now, 18. The auditor's responsibilities regarding fraud include. Responsibilities regarding fraud include designing audit procedures to obtain reasonable assurance of detecting material misstatements. Could be one. Guaranteeing prevention of fraud. No, not guaranteeing. Detecting all. No, not all. Preparing an anti-fraud policy. Not preparing. That would be management responsibility. That is why option A is the right option. Now, which of the following is a limitation to audit evidence? Limitation to audit evidence. You see that these questions are very much mixed, so that you can understand what is the navigation that you should follow, right? So, which of the following is a limitation of audit evidence? So, may not be conclusive, may be obtained on a sample basis, subject to management bias. All of the above is there. Which of the following increases detection risk? Which of the following increases detection risk? Which of the following increases detection risk? So, inadequate audit procedures could be there. Yes. Poorly designed audit test. Yes. Insufficient sample sizes. Yes. Detection risk is what? That auditor might miss to detect a material misstatement. Which of the following is not a factor affecting audit risk? Not a factor affecting audit risk. Not a factor affecting audit risk. Nature of client's business, it will. Quality of internal controls, yes. Auditor's fees, definitely not. I actually hope that it does not affect the audit risk, right? So that is why this one, complexity of transaction, also does. Correct. Now, last concept based questions. Okay, so the use of sampling in an audit is due to audit sampling, okay, is due to audit evidence being persuasive, not conclusive. Could be true. Cost and time consideration, yes. Practical impossibility of testing all transaction, yes. That is why all of the above. I hope you have got the good understanding over the overall audit procedures. Just in case if you were unable to solve any of these questions or most of these questions, then you need solid understanding of the audit as of now. Just in case you were able to solve all of this, so this was basics. Now you can start your technical journey of AA, not an issue. Okay. Now let's go to study hub questions. Okay, study hub questions. So these are particularly available in your ACCA study hub also. Which of the following is an advantage of using standardized working papers? Okay. So ensures the completeness of the audit working papers by placing of a standard program on each section of the audit file. Could be one. Introduces a standard approach to conduct and documentation of the audit. Could be one. Enables junior staff to follow properly documented and designed procedures, thereby reducing the need for excessive supervision. No. Facilitates briefing, delegation, supervision, review and quality of the audit work. Could be true. Which one do you feel is true? Please solve it with me. Please, which one do you feel is true? Right? Please solve it with me. Please comment your answers. Okay. Please comment your answers. I will be responding to all of you. Okay. This is very, very important that you should interact also. Yes, please comment your answers. Yes, please comment your answers. Please take 2-3 minutes, not an issue. Please comment your answers, not an issue. Please take 2-3 minutes. I request to all the people available. Please. So I'm just allowing you 30 seconds to mark the answer. This is from ACC Study Hub. Just 60 seconds, 40 seconds left. Yes. Last few seconds, please tell me. Please tell me whether you are able to solve it or not. Standard working papers we have covered in today's session only. Yes. Are you able to solve it? See, there could be three right options, right? One is definitely wrong because it is talking about reducing the need, but ensures the completeness of the audit working papers. Standard working papers will ensure completeness. No, not looking like it, right? Standard working papers might not be completing the working papers, right? So that is why this might wrong. Now fight is between B and D. Introduces a standard approach to conduct and documentation of the audit 100% true. Facilitates briefing, delegation, supervision, review and quality control of the audit. Is it true? Again true, right? So which one you should look for? So see, in this particular case you should look for the more appropriate option. So more appropriate option looks D because it is covering all aspects of the audit. Therefore option B is not correct and option D is correct. Now auditors working papers are conventionally divided into current and permanent audit files that we have discussed for both convenience and control. Which of the following is most likely to appear on the permanent audit engagement file? Okay, written representations, no, for the current year. Report to management, again for the current year. Receivables confirmation letter, again for the current year. That is why engagement letter. Now my friends, a lot of students get confused over here. Report to management, we discussed on previous year's auditors report, right? So this is not previous year's FS. That is why it is not in the permanent audit file. Now, for how long does the ACCA recommend that working papers be retained? ACCA recommended. ISA says 5, but ACCA says 7 years. This is as per ISA and this is as per ACCA. But until they have been superseded by working papers for following years, no. For at least 5 years, no. For as long as the auditor continues to be engaged, no. For at least 7 years, this we have discussed in that cloud, right? Now, which of the following is not true of audited working papers? Which of the following is not true of audited working papers? Please understand, not true is there. Please understand, not true is there. Okay. They ensure the audit team can be held accountable for its work. True. Accountability is there. They provide evidence that the financial statements of the clients are correct. They provide evidence that the financial statements of the clients are correct. Could be one. Okay. They assist in planning the audit. Definitely yes. Audit working papers. They facilitate the supervision review. Yes. So that is why they provide evidence that the financial statements of the client are correct. Okay. See, these were direct questions. That is why I solved it. But again, let's talk about the second question, which requires a little interpretation. Which of the following is not true in relation to the ownership of audit documentation? Again, take 1 minute. Please solve it. Again, take 1 minute. Please solve it. Yeah. Which of the following is not true? Yes, there are students in life. Please solve it. Which of the following is not true in relation to the ownership of audit documentation? Ownership. Okay. All documents owned by the clients are confidential. All documents owned by the clients are confidential. This is not talking about audit documentation, right? Okay. A client has the right to access information held on them in the audit working papers. Could be true. We discussed at the last. No. Working papers are the property of the auditor. Yes, this is 100% true. A client may require the auditor to disclose documents which belong to the client to a third party. This is also true. So option C and D could not be there, but option A and B has a fight, right? Working papers are the property of the auditor. That is also true. And the client may require the auditor to disclose documents which belong to the client to a third party. That is also true. Fight is between two, A and B. A client has the right to access information held on to them in the audit working papers, or all documents owned by the client are confidential. Please take 30 minutes. Please answer it. Please answer it. Please take 30 minutes. Please answer it. 30 seconds and answer it. I would like to see all of your responses on the chat box. Yes, tell me. Okay, yes, correctly answered. A client has the right to access information held on to them in the audit working papers. A client has the right to access information held on to them in the audit working papers, right? That is also true. Okay, now let's go to the constructed response questions. So when I say constructed response questions, what do I mean by it? These are the descriptive type questions. So there are particularly two questions that are given over here. Number one, auditors are required to document their understanding of the client system of internal controls. Two methods for documenting the system of internal controls are narrative notes and internal control questionnaires. What do we need to do? What we need to do? Describe the advantages and disadvantages to the auditor using narrative notes and questionnaires. So see, we have to determine the advantages and disadvantages of what. See, today I am not telling you about the marking schemes and everything. We will be covering it in the further lectures. Advantages and disadvantages. Okay, advantages and disadvantages. So of narrative notes, that is for the process documentation and questionnaires. See, before reading the answer, let's try to figure out. When I talk about narrative notes, they are, like we discussed, they are most important while documenting the overall process, while documenting the detailed processes. So it will have all the details, okay? It will not be just in a flowchart format, it will have all the details, all the crucial points. It can also help us in identifying the risk because we will be able to see the process gaps, whatever are there. It will also help us identify the control owners. It will also help us relate to the risk assessment and evaluate the impact of that risk in a better manner. When I talk about the negative part, it might be time consuming in nature. It might require a separate staff. It might require certain experience on what should be included under this. Okay, it might require a lot of time in typing it. The file size might be more, so the audit backup might be very big. That is all important. Now, when I talk about questionnaires, what do I mean by questionnaires? When you ask the question and you get the responses majorly in the inquiry format, right? So advantages of questionnaires are they are very specific, so it will help us ask the direct questions and get the direct answer. They take less time because the questionnaires are prepared. You just need to answer yes, no, and with the scenarios, right? Why it is a little disadvantage, a situation of disadvantage for the client, because these questionnaires might be in the format, might be in a fixed format, which might not be very much customized for the client, right? So it can ask standard risk, standard questions, but sometimes this customization might be wrong. Okay, the questionnaire might not cover all aspects of the areas of the audit. That is important. So now let's discuss about it. So narrative notes, advantages, disadvantages. Questionnaires, advantages, disadvantages. Okay, so advantages. The main advantage of narrative notes is that they are simple to record after discussion. So see, advantage is simple to record. We have discussed it, right? After discussion with the companies, these discussions are easily written up as notes. Okay. Additionally, as the notes are simple to record, they can facilitate understanding by all members. Did we discuss it? Yes. Especially more junior members could also understand it. Then disadvantages, because flowchart might not be understandable by junior team members, but narrative notes would be understandable by everybody. Disadvantages, narratives note may prove to be too cumbersome, like we discussed. Okay, especially the system is complex. This method can make it more difficult to identify missing controls because everything is written in text. So like flowchart, specific gaps might not be identified or specific areas might not be addressed to. Then questionnaires, internal control questionnaires are used to assess whether control exists or not. Okay, which meet specific objectives or prevent or detect errors. Advantages could be questionnaires are quick to prepare, which means they are cost effective method. They ensure all controls that exist in the systems are considered. Questionnaires are simple to complete, therefore any team member can complete it without much of the knowledge also. Disadvantages, it can be easy for the company to overstate the level of the controls present because they will be asking everything even if that is not present over there. Without careful tailoring of the questionnaire to make it company specific, there is a risk that controls may be understood and unusual controls missed. Sir, can we write this answer? Yes, you can write this answer. See, this is covered over here only. So you can definitely write this answer, not an issue. Now my friends, we will not be able to solve question number 2 today because this relates to agreeing the terms of audit engagement, ISA 210, which is the engagement letter, which we have not covered so far. So that is why we will not be able to solve this question today, but we will definitely be solving it once we revise agreeing the terms of audit engagement, which is the engagement letter. I hope this was clear. Now just to summarize, whatever links you need or whatever discussions you want to have, please feel free to contact me on Telegram, YouTube or Instagram. Okay, and tell me on how did you like this lecture, ACCA with CA Superior. Okay, if you need any help, any discussion points, any discussion regarding notes, question banks, please feel free to contact me on any of these platforms. Okay, now if you need to check out our courses, you can go to our website, which is by the name of www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. okay, will you get these notes? Yes. Will you get these question banks? Yes. Will you get this board notes, yes, so don't worry about all of it. What is the schedule of a practice batch or the exam oriented batch or the crash course that we are talking about for December 2025? So schedule is TTSS, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, timings 2 p.m. to 3:30, 3 or 3:30. Okay, 3 to 3:30 p.m. as per the requirements, Indian Standard Time. Okay, if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I have mentioned all the links in the description. And if you like this video, please put a like on the YouTube. Please subscribe to this channel for more such content, and please share it with all of your ACCA buddies so that we can have a fruitful discussion and we can actually help them clear ACCA AA December 2025 examination. Similarly, if you need any help for AAA, or if you have any students who are appearing for AAA in December 2025, please feel free to share this video with them so that they can also contact us. Thank you so much.